I think that you just have this belief, and it's so important as you grow that like the people that you surround yourself with, whether it's investors or it's like your employees, that they share that same belief in what you're doing. And that has been a big learning lesson for us over the last couple of years.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow? Creating a culture of ownership is a technique that will actually grow your business. It goes beyond just having performance management and focusing on the numbers, but having people feel like owners really is the key to your success. Why do I say this? Because I've had hundreds of interviews with fast growth leaders, founders, CEOs, and they all come back to our people are so important that we want them to feel like they're an owner of the company. We want them to feel like the money that they're spending is their money. We want them to feel like the product they're creating is their product, like the customers are their customers. I could go on and on and on, but this sense of feeling of ownership really does drive a culture when you get it right. I found a company in my network that is really doing this, and I wanted to share their story with you. It's Skinny Dipped. Skinny Dipped is a healthy snack. It is putting the gloriousness of an almond with great chocolate and then finishing it off with a great kind of a process that enhances the flavor. I'm getting hungry as I talk about it. But Skinny Dipped has grown so fast. They reached number 32 on the Inc. list in 2019 with over 10 million in sales, 25 employees. And I talked with the co-founder, Breezy Griffith. Breezy is an amazing, determined person. She's really driven hard. She wanted to create something that had never been done before and really innovate on this healthy snack product. And she's done that with the help of her team. And she's done all of that by creating a sense of ownership with the culture. Now, ownership within your culture really does a lot of things. It unlocks the employees to a new level. We're going to unpack that inside the interview, so I won't tease you now, but I will tell you it's one of my favorite conversations I've had in a long time. Now, here's the interview with Breezy. Hi, Breezy. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks, Gene. How are you?
Thanks for being here at Grow Think Tank.
Thanks for having me. Very excited.
Well, tell us a little bit about the company, because I know I've already shared with the audience about you personally and the growth, but tell us about Skinny Dipped.
Sure. So Skinny Dipped was, my mom and I founded Skinny Dipped, and it was hatched out of a time in our lives when we lost a very inspiring young man to cancer. And after that happened, it really made us kind of take a step back and think about like what's really important in life. And for us, it was finding a way to spend more time together. And it was that coupled with the idea that like we love good food, we love nutritious food. We have a strong belief that everyone should have access to the kind of good food we've had our whole lives. So we really set out on a journey to create the snack that we craved, that we didn't believe was on the market, which was this balanced snack. We took the almond, we reinvented the chocolate covered almond, and we thinned down the layer, and then we balanced the nut with the chocolate, and we dusted them in all these really innovative finishes. So we had two co-founders that joined us, Chrissy and Lizzie. So we're a friends and family owned and run business, and it's been a great adventure so far.
Well, a healthy snack is not a new idea. How did you zero in on almonds?
So I think that it was just a natural fit for us because we're foodies in the sense that we love good, delicious food, but we also want to get the nutrition out of it as well. So for us, almonds were just like a very natural fit because we believe that they could be delicious and they're just the perfect thing. They're satiating, they deliver on nutrition. And then we realized that like, wait, what if you can make an almond less boring and you can make it exciting and you can make it fun to eat?
I love it. I love healthy snacks. I love just a handful of almonds almost every afternoon. Yeah. I really appreciate you being here. Your company has grown really fast. So let's just talk a little bit about that. What was on your mind to get to 10 million as fast as you did?
I think that, I guess it wasn't that we had a specific goal. I mean, it was definitely that we were going to grow the company, but it was really just one foot in front of the next. I think as entrepreneurs, we have, sometimes we don't step outside to take a breath and realize what we're doing. So for us, it was really just putting our heads down and building what we felt in like the deepest, kind of depths of our gut that we knew we could do, that we had something that people wanted. So that was really the driving force.
Were you, when we started to get some traction, did you have some idea that you would be one of the top, 32 companies? Because you actually landed number 32 on the Inc. list in 2019.
So long ago when we started this business, and my mom told me, she was like, "Ooh, I don't want to explode a brand." I was like, "Oh no, we will." And so that drive and that determination and that goal has been there since the very very early days. And actually, like, my mom and I have this great balance between this tension between growth and then also just like mindful growth. So definitely from the very beginning knew that that's what we wanted to do.
Well, I interview hundreds of people just like you, and you have that in common, that drive and determination that says, I know we can do this. I'm not exactly sure how, but we're going to put together a great product, great process, and put great people. And that's what you've done to be able to get to this point of the company. And it's continuing to grow from here, right?
Yes, no, it is. And you're right. I think that you just have this belief, and it's so important as you grow that like the people that you surround yourself with, whether it's investors or it's like your employees, that they share that same belief in what you're doing. And that has been a big learning lesson for us over the last couple of years.
Now, one of the things that we talked about a few days ago when we were kind of getting ready for this interview was, you have a non-traditional kind of leadership team. And in fact, you have co-founders that include your mother and some of your friends. So tell us about what that structure is, and then I'll kind of dive deeper into some other questions.
Sure, yeah. So like I touched on a little bit earlier, my mom and I have this really amazing, we call it like a healthy tension. I think it's actually part of why we are where we are today. It's a big part of it. So I am the accelerator pedal. I'm the driving force. I'm go, go, go. And she's kind of always got her hand on the emergency brake, just so like we don't go careening over the mountain, And I think because of that balance, we end up in a really great place. It's like, it's like when, you sit in a meeting and everyone agrees with each other. And I think you don't get to the best answer, like if you were to challenge each other. So we inherently, and we've had to work hard at that, but we inherently have that relationship. I'm very much so on the business side of things, working closely with our president and COO. My mom is the driving force behind all of our innovation, as well as just like the kind of creative ethos of the brand, the brand DNA, who we are, what we stand for. She has a really amazing set of skills in that way. And then our two co-founders, Lizzie and Chrissy. Chrissy heads up, she's a VP of all of our alternative channel sales. So we have a lot of visibility in everything from tech campuses to schools to, we would love to be a healthy snack that's offered in hospitals where there's not enough of that. And she's just done an incredible job at growing that, from the very early days. And then Lizzie, who's here. So Lizzie's amazing. Lizzie has stepped into a new role, which is, I wish we had done so long ago, because I didn't realize the importance early on of building culture. And so Lizzie is heading up, she's the VP of people and culture here. She's all things, HR and team building, and it has been a game changer for us.
Well, I'm really surprised when I see companies that are growing fast and they haven't put the attention to culture the way you have, but you don't have that many employees. So you have what, 22, 25 employees?
Yep.
And what hire was she? She was like very early because she's a co-founder. So this was like 3, 4, 5.
Oh yeah. So it was me and my mom, and Lizzie joined us when we were still in the kitchen dipping nuts one at a time. And Chrissy joined us a couple months later, and she moved from New York, and we all moved in with my mom and my parents and lived under one roof.
Well, I love the story of how this has been developed, but diving into this culture, what would you say have been the core tenets or principles of the culture that have made you guys work well together and grow so fast?
Yeah, so it's been a really interesting journey for us because our roots are that we are a friends and family business. That's how we were born. And people say all the time, "Oh my gosh, you went to business with friends and family. That's like a double whammy. You should never have done that." But I like to think of it the other way. It really has been a strength for us. Um, and what we've done as we've grown is, and as the business has needed us, like we've needed to turn the business into a performance-based business, but without losing our roots and the things that make us who we are, which is this kind of DNA and the way we treat people, which is very friends and family based. Like, we have a strong set of values. We believe that we should, kindness is everything. So it's kind of this magical place now because we're able to be this, we've transitioned into this performance business, but we still have those underlying roots that are really kind of really help to drive us forward and help to make sure that people want to be here, that they want to come to work every day, that they feel proud to work at Skinny Dip.
Just for our audience listening in, and I'm not even quite sure what you mean by performance-based. I'm sure it's kind of like metrics and what else is including inside that performance-based.
Yeah, I just mean I think for so long when you grow a startup, right? Like it's just the wild, wild west. Because all you're trying to do is keep your head above water and make it make it past the next obstacle, right? And then at a certain point you go, wait, hold on. Now we need to put some structure in place. And we've done that in a variety of ways, some of which is like the hiring of our team. We knew that it was time to bring some experience on board and marry that kind of experience with our gut and instincts and everything else. And so I think we've landed in a really good place where we have this diversity among our employees.
Now, you have put all this attention on culture. One of the things that we talked about was the desire to have kind of an ownership culture. In your words, how would you define what that is?
Okay, so I think that it's so important. I think that's like one of the most important things, because to do what you have to do to be, a rapidly growing company, there's sacrifice involved. There's sacrifice in the amount of hours that are worked and the time you get to spend with your friends and family. So you really want people to buy in. You want them to feel like owners. And so for us, we've done that in a number of ways. For one, we foster a collaborative environment. We make sure that everyone's voice is heard, and it certainly doesn't mean that everyone's idea is always used, but we always support them bringing that to the table for a discussion. We worked really hard to be transparent about some of the challenges that the business is facing so that people don't feel in the dark. They feel part of the team. They understand it's not this like divide between, more junior roles and more executive or leadership roles. And then we've also just having an all hands on deck mentality is very important. So even just this morning, we had a big delivery of boxes that came to the office, and everyone, our CFO, our accounting manager, our co-founder, everyone's down there just, unpacking the boxes. So it's really just that we help each other in that way. And then I think finally, the other thing is just also leading people with this kind of helping to educate and mentor, so that, one day when people go somewhere else, they've kind of, they've grown this skill set, this robust set of skills. So even being able to experience some of the business that might be outside of their actual roles and responsibilities. So they just leave with kind of this whole new experience.
Hold on for a second. Breezy just talked about the voices being heard. Here's the thing about people working inside your companies. Whenever you have a top-down structure, when you have the best ideas and you want everyone to execute on it, you feel like that's the best way. And I've been there as a leader. But what I've seen from fast growth companies, that the best way to do this is give everyone a voice. You go last in the meetings where you don't have to share your best ideas. You don't have to be put on the spot, but you give others a voice to be able to share their great ideas. And when they have a good one, you recognize them for that. Let them feel heard. It goes a long way in creating a great culture for them to feel appreciated and that you are listening. And when they have terrible ideas, which they will, then you want to make sure you appreciate them too, because they're sharing their ideas. Not everything is going to be a home run. Not every idea you've had has been a home run. So think about that. Well, back to the interview with Breezy. I'm not trying to pick on you here, but there's one that you've missed out on that's really apparent. Can I put a spotlight on that for you?
Yes.
It's having a common mission, like this
Yes.
healthy snack thing creates a sense of ownership. Tell us about how that works.
Yeah, so that's been something that the four of us, right, as founders and co-founders have kind of inherently along the way known in our gut. And it was really exciting to start to put all of these things on paper, our mission and our values, so that we could share them with all of our employees. And for us, the ability to be able to help make a difference in the kind of nutritious and delicious food that should be accessible to everyone, not just to the people that could say, shop at an expensive natural food store. That is, I think people then feel like they're inspired. They feel like they're building something. They understand why they're working the extra hours. It's that, and we also have a mission around really supporting women, in particular mothers, domestically and internationally. So there's a lot of things that we're doing there, whether it's volunteer days, and things that bring our team together that, so we're all working towards the same mission. And that's been huge.
Hold up. Breezy just said mission-driven company. And I know I asked a question about this, but when you think about a mission-driven company, what do you think of? It doesn't have to be some social impact that you're doing something for, giving someone shoes or giving someone eyeglasses, as some famous companies have done. A mission-driven company just has to be something clear enough that others want to be a part of. Something that has to be something that really kind of pulls at their heart and soul. And if you do the work to create your mission-driven company, you can align others together so it increases that sense of ownership. Now, I share this with you because if you want to create a fast growth company, some of the work I do is helping people come up and being very clear what that mission is and how to use it throughout the company. It's not fluffiness. It really is a driving force in the company. Now, back to the interview with Breezy. Now, a lot of cultures or companies, shall I say, are afraid of this ownership mentality in it. They're afraid people might get too territorial, or they may try to create silos inside the business. Have you had to address that, or has it just not been an issue?
That has not been an issue for us. I mean, I feel differently. I feel like we would not be here if we didn't foster that kind of mentality. And I think the more we grow, the more I realize the importance of that, because it really comes down to the people that you bring on board. Those are the people that are going to help you make it across the finish line.
Do you have a set of core values that you align around the business? Is that something you guys have taken the time to actually think through intentionally?
Yes.
Is one of them around ownership, or is?
So one of them is kind of like underneath, we've bucketed like act like an owner, make decisions like you're an owner, whether they're financial or they're in the way that you treat people, that people are essentially, they're a reflection of the brand and everything. So it's not a direct value, but it's certainly the way that, we're explaining to people how decisions should be made.
When you think of other companies that want to grow fast and they don't have core values, what's the first thing that comes to your mind as is their likelihood of actually getting where they're going?
Yeah. So again, that was something that, like, for us when we were really small and it was just us and a couple of people, it's like we knew those, right? But they still weren't on paper. And now that they're on paper, it puts you in this place, this powerful place too, because now you kind of have this moral compass to go back to when there's something that's in question. So like if someone has an issue and they're like, hey, I didn't appreciate like how so-and-so spoke to me or whatever, you have something to go back to and say, well, kindness is a value for us and this is not in line with our values. And I think without having that, it's really hard to have some of those conversations.
Well, I've seen that's where it's really powerful. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. You've grown fast. I know this hasn't been, a perfect journey. You've probably made a few mistakes. Is there one mistake that you feel like was really worth making because it allowed you to realign the company to where you are today?
Yes, there was one mistake for sure. So when we started to grow very quickly, there was this, there becomes this pressure, right? To fill all these roles and fill them quickly and invest in your future and everything. And what happened for us is that out of all of that rush and everything, we didn't, and partially because we'd never done it before, we didn't take the time to slow down and do our due diligence, not just on if someone could fill their roles and responsibilities, but also if someone was a good cultural fit. Also, if someone could make the transition from a big company to a small, scrappy startup that is sometimes, which for a lot of people is hard. So for us, we learned a big lesson when we went out and we hired a lot of people, and we did it very quickly, and we weren't able to mesh kind of the two teams. And so I learned like, whoa, first of all, people are the most important thing to our success, but they have to be the right people. And so now we're very thoughtful in our hiring process. We've made a lot of changes. We've put a process in place about who speaks to who and why and what we discuss, and are we aligned when we speak to someone? And that's made a world of difference. But that was a big, hard learning lesson because we functioned without it. We were about short of half of our team for almost a year.
Breezy,
while we restructured.
Breezy, you said something in there I want to kind of put a spotlight on just for a second. You mentioned people as being the most important piece to the business. And I don't want to interpret for you, but I have talked to hundreds of founders and CEOs just like you of fast-growing businesses, and they put such an emphasis on their team that they actually believe that the team is more important than the customers. Is that something you can kind of relate to, or?
Absolutely. And only because of, now we've learned and we've been there. And it's funny because it's not just, I think what makes a team is the diversity that you have in the people that you bring together. And I think that if you can play to that, that becomes a strength. And that's something we worked hard at, is not having everyone that comes out of a big company, but not having everyone that's only been in startups, and and so yes, absolutely. And I think number one is everyone has to be a believer. They have to believe in what they're doing, and they really have to want to be there.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that. I'm glad I picked up on something that you kind of glossed over, but it's a very important fact because a lot of companies believe that growing fast means you focus on the numbers, which that performance-based stuff. But at the core foundation, I think the reason Skinny Dip has grown so fast is because you have put such an emphasis on the culture and the people.
Yeah, and I think that like when you push, based off of the numbers, it'll take you so far, right? But then at a certain point, those pieces will catch up with you. The people, the culture, I think that's where we got to. And then we had to kind of go back and go, oh gosh, okay, there are these really important foundational pieces that we need to put in place so we can like make it to the next step.
Perfect. Well, Breezy, thanks for being here at Growth Think Tank, sharing your journey of founding a very fast-growing company. Skinny Dip is an impressive product, impressive people behind it. So I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insights.
Thank you so much, Jean. This was an honor to chat with you today.
Wow, great interview. Really love how she really talks about the power of ownership inside the company. Creating a culture of ownership is the key to your fast growth. It is going beyond responsibility and really creating this feeling that everyone can share together. You don't have to have profit sharing. You don't have to give them stock options and all of this stuff. They can do it because they feel connected to the mission, because they feel empowered, because you're listening to them. You care for them. They can feel like they're a part of that if you give them a voice in the company. Now, I know I just put a lot of things in there, but I share all this with you because I'm so excited to be able to talk about this sense of ownership. I do this on big stages all the time. I work with clients to enhance their sense of ownership across the culture so that they can continue to grow and accelerate. So this is just one example of sort of a case study of why ownership matters inside of our culture. Well, I'd love for you to share this episode with those that you feel like want to be better leaders and create fast growth companies. So make sure if you think of one person right now when I say this, that you talk to them today about this podcast, this episode, or another episode that has made an impact on you as a leader. As always, lead with courage, and we'll see you next time.